this is my R56 JCW. I've owned it for 2 years, I've done a lot of modifications to it. This is the 5 things that I would recommend other R56 owners do if they have a stock car or they're looking just to do modifications they might not have done already. Okay, this goes for not just minis, this goes for, I believe, every car. If you're looking to modify a car, this is what you should always start with. But it's, once again, a phenomenal example of such on a Mini. That being coilovers. Coilovers should be the baseline start for if you want a modified car. They'll let you know, like, you know, if you're mechanically inclined enough to work on your car, coilovers are a pretty good start. You know, they take a little bit of elbow grease, but it's pretty straightforward. You know, it'll ride rougher. You'll see if you really like, you know, a rougher ride, or if you just want something comfortable in stock, which is okay, but it's a good starting point. I think it's a great starting point specifically on these cars because it really brings them to life, but on every car, I think it's a good baseline of modifying a car. Suspension brings me on to number 2. Absolutely an Alta 22 millimeter thick, like stock I think is 17 or 19, 22 millimeter rear sway bar and links. It's cheap, it's pretty straightforward. It's kind of an involved job, but it's not that bad. It's pretty cheap and it completely changes a car. If you do coilovers and a rear sway bar, your car it'll feel like a different car entirely. It's the go-kart feeling that people talk about with Mini Coopers will be 100-folded with just coilovers and a sway bar. It's all you really need for, it's not all you need, but that is a perfect jumping off point for suspension on this car. Okay, for number 3, taking to the engine. Absolutely, once again, this is something that's pretty baseline for most turbo cars, but absolutely a Catless downpipe or a high flow catted downpipe if you want to spend more money and not have to deal with like emissions stuff. If you don't really care about emissions or you want to swap it back every time you get your car inspected, whatever, but if you get a Catless downpipe and you don't have a tune, it will throw a coat. If you don't care, it's fine too, but just be aware that it will throw a coat unless you get a tune that specifically turns, you know, just shuts the code off. It won't pass emissions, it won't pass inspection, so, you know, there are downsides to this, but it'll bring your throttle response way up. It'll be a lot louder, like the pops will be louder, the spool will be a little bit louder, you'll be able to hear more turbo whistle, you know, stuff like that. I mean, the downpipe is just the exhaust that comes off of the backside of the turbo, so you're just basically taking that. I have it laying right here actually. You have this fat piece, and this is called a catalytic converter. This is what those Philly gremlins are after when they're under your car with a hacksaw at 3 in the morning. This has all the stuff that basically makes your car pollute less. And then the one that's on my car now is just a stainless steel pipe that's straight through without any of the inside stuff. Number 4 is the AEM intake kit. Also, Alta, AEM, anybody sponsor me, that'd be great. Thank you. The AEM intake kit takes this non-functional hood scoop from the factory that just is for like heat dissipation and runs a scoop along the top side of the hood straight to a new air box with a cone filter. So it's just a straight funnel of cold air. It's perfect. It takes a non-functional part of this car and turns it into something that is exceptionally functional. Much better than stock. This kit combined with this intercooler has my IATs, which is the temperature that's being read at the intake manifold. They're only like 10 degrees, like when I'm cruising, when I'm moving, they're only about 10 degrees, give or take, over the ambient temperature outside, which is very good. So I fully endorse this. I think they're $550 new. I got mine for $350 on Marketplace. Just if you're getting them used, be very careful that you get the one specific to the N14 or the N18, whatever motor you have, because I think the PCV recirc is in a different spot on the tube. So just be aware of that. But that would be absolutely a recommendation of mine. Finally, this isn't necessarily a performance mod, but you absolutely need them if you have a R56. Catch cans, absolutely need them. They fill up so fast. Like, that's not true, but they fill up really fast, faster than you would ever want them to. Every time I empty those, I'm reminded of just how much like sludge, milky oil, PCV research stuff that I would not want just dripping onto my intake valves that gets stopped in here. You vent the PCV to this acts as a filter, and then that goes to where the PCV would plug into. PCV's systems there's a huge lore on PCV systems. They're for emission, that's positive crankcase ventilation, so there's pressure in the crankcase. That's got to go somewhere, but it's fumy and oily, so you can't just vent it to the atmosphere because of emission stuff. So what manufacturers started doing was recirculating that just into the intake. When you do that, you get oil and sludge and all kinds of other stuff straight into your intake and then straight into the combustion chamber, and that's bad. You can get a catch can for $40 on Amazon. It is well worth it. Save yourself the pain of not doing it and just bite the bullet on a $40 catch can. If you have an R56, you either have to block off one of the valves and just do one, or you have to get 2 catch cans and 2 systems, which is what I opted to do. Some people block off the back PCV, which is the one that's for idle, because minis are overcomplicated and they have the PCV switch off when you're in boost. So like when you're in negative vacuum, you're using one of the valves, then as you build into positive boost, it switches over and you use a different one. So some people just block the negative one off, meaning you're in positive pressure all the time and only one of the valves is open. I opted to just do 2 because once again they're like $40. So yeah, this has been 5 things that I would do if I was starting from scratch on an R56 platform. If you guys have other things like mods that aren't really worth it, or maintenance that you should be on the lookout for, stuff like that, other video ideas like that, just let me know. Comment, sub, because I'm trying to grow. That'd be cool. Peace.